Coldharbour, yes? This is everybody from Brixton today.
So the project actually started because I met Michael Gross 5 years ago, and I was interested at the time in just understanding the community better. I'd moved to Brixton 5 years beforehand. Michael has lived in and out of Brixton all his life and is totally connected with the community, and we would joke all the time that whenever we walked through Brixton together we had to leave sort of 3 or 4 hours because people would stop us and we'd have conversations or jokes with people. And you know, for me, I'll walk through Brixton and literally not see anybody that I know. So it was really funny contrast. That was such an important element of when we started to develop the Coldharbour Project, of showing people that experience. You know, when you are part of the community and you walk through a place like this, you will get stopped all the time.
This family's been there for 100 years, and that is them there. It's a very well-known South East London name, and it's respected. And as you can see by the girls, they're carrying the tradition on. This is why we do this game.
A project like Coldharbour absolutely necessitates community involvement. You'd miss so much if you didn't do it with the community.
What motivated me to get involved in this project was the fact that it is a local community project, and I have been here for 20 years plus.
The community production team have been involved in content and going through the oral histories they've collected, and we've been encouraged to share ideas and opinions, and then we filter down what works.
It's a way for me to actually get actively involved in something that is productive. I've picked up a lot of skills along the way, including sound, dealing with the different cameras, the 360 camera, meeting the people as well involved, because we have people from all walks of life. So you have lecturers, you've got local people, you've got people who have made documentaries before, some people like me who don't have any experience. And we're all kind of given this space and this platform to be able to be creative and feel comfortable to be able to share our ideas and actually see some of those ideas, you know, come to life.
One of the reasons why LCC started working with the Independent Film Trust was of their ethos, and their ethos is to be inclusive, and that's, you know, one of the main drivers for us, and we would like all arts practice to be diverse and inclusive, and it makes it a successful industry. And particularly in this project, which is Coldharbour, it's based in Brixton. It is about the social history of Brixton. So of course it makes total sense for it to be a participatory and community-led project.
So we'll need about 30 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, so set.
If we can find out how many plug sockets there are.
Shooting a 360 was a minefield at first. I didn't know what I was doing, because we realised really early on that it needed to be immersive. You couldn't really passively experience walking through Brixton with someone like Michael. You had to be there and you had to experience it yourself, and that's when we understood we needed to be in an immersive environment, and 360-degree film seemed like the perfect way to do this. You can't really wear a headset for that long without getting a bit disorientated, so we had sort of 20 minutes max that we thought we could limit the time of the film to, which was a nightmare for telling a story about somewhere like Brixton. When you're filming, you can't be in the space, so you have to monitor it from outside, which means you can't see anything that's going on, you can't ask people's questions, you can't do all the normal things that you would do in a documentary setup. So that was weird. But then after a while that also became liberating, because it just meant that people could just do their thing, you know, and they could just talk the way that they talk, and as long as they knew what they were talking about, it was just two colleagues or two friends meeting and talking.
At first, I will admit I'm a technophobic. So I really was not interested in 360 or virtual reality or anything like that. I have a brother who suffers from neurobeshek syndrome, and basically he can only move his eyes and the rest of his body is immobilized. My father actually brought a 360 pair of goggles, and he brought it in with the intention for my brother to be able to experience reality again. the way that the 360 works, because you're allowed to move your head and you see other things, it will encourage his movement, and it should actually help his mobility and his progression to be able to come mobile. So my father always kind of saw a health benefit towards it.
Listen, remember, I'm 15, so the best are 15 winning, right? The best are 15 win. No.
We hope that it'll spark an interesting discussion about the different types of culture that exist in a space, and also the different ways that we remember it and the different ways we value space. For me personally, the importance of something like this, and the reason again for using VR, is the value of a space. I think a town and the buildings are made by the people that live in them, and the meaning of them is held inside of us, and the things that we did there, and the children that were given birth there, and the marriages that happened, and the friendships that were formed, and all of those things that took place, as well as the discrimination and the riots and the protests and the political wins and the political losses and everything else in between.
And the whole idea of the 360 means that people can enter the world, and this gives access to a much, much wider world.
A space can become quite cynical. It can quite easily get sucked up into a kind of real estate model, and I think that's a real shame. And I think that creates a lot of tension in a place where historically there has always been intercultural interaction and community bonding.
Your voice be here. We put on me trunks to turn me bobby socks and me go on the pack and circle round, come back. We take a little chip on a corner shop, me boy, in the mirror and a 2 Kit Kat. Yes, that's how I go.
The more you invest in a community, the more that community will invest in you. And I hope that this film shows people the value of making that effort to talk to your neighbours and to speak to the people in the market and buy your things from the market, you know, and go to the cafes that exist with people who've been living there for a long time. You know, you won't get anything out of the community unless you put something in, and this hopefully will sort of show people the value in that.
Well done, everybody!